The last morning that I was in Turks and Caicos, the beach revealed its engine to me. It is the last day in paradise. It's about 5 a.m. I'm going out metal detecting. Let's go. Yesterday we walked in the direction of the sunrise. Today we're gonna go the opposite way. And yeah, we got hours until the plane starts to take us back to New York. Yeah, going home, that's what you call a bad idea. So we're gonna be getting in the water, but first I'm gonna go down the beach and I'm gonna see where there's signals in the sand. I'm of course gonna look to see, you know, beach chairs, stuff like that. That usually corresponds. All right, first signal right here. Nah. I tell you, I'm starting to get some targets even before I reached the next beach where there's chairs. So I'm gonna get in the water. Okay, listen, I've been in a few live streams and people are like, Merrill, why don't you get in the water in New York? It doesn't work that way. I mean, there's some beaches that you can, but it all has to do with wave speed. So here's a look at a local beach. This is Jones Beach. Please pardon the ugly water. I was getting used to this. And those waves, they're 1 to 2 feet and they look benign, but I'm telling you, I don't see detectorists get out on an ocean beach. Even in waves like that, the stuff is moving. And let's say you do get a signal. Try to scoop it up. It's a challenge. It's a lot easier when it is still. So know this, all beaches are not equal. They are not the same. And that's why you need to learn about the fetch. There's a term in earth science called the fetch, and it is the distance that the wind has to affect the waves. In other words, if you have no land that's blocking, nothing that's getting in the way, the wind carries momentum and it moves the waves and it makes it bigger and bigger. Now let's give you an oversimplified example. You very rarely, maybe only during a hurricane, will you get long sustained winds blowing in this direction towards New York City and Long Island. That's when you're going to have massive waves because the momentum from the wind pushes the waves and you have a long fetch. Now, look at this. You don't have as much space here. Connecticut doesn't have a surfing scene. Look it up. Look it up. There's no surfing scene. There might be people who float on a surfboard somewhere. That's not a surfing scene. But there's no surfing scene in Connecticut because that's just too short of a distance to build the momentum to have strong waves. And just saying, there are some beaches in New York where you do not get that long fetch, and you're going to have to get in the water. But enough of these ugly New York waves. There was something that happened on my last day in Turks and Caicos that really shifted my worldview. Yeah, I've been getting some light stuff. Like this is from a can. Targets are here though, so we're gonna keep going. Okay, got something. Ah, there we go. Little piece of jewelry. That might be silver. Hey, there we go. On the board. Let's go. That woke me up. Believe it or not, this is probably part of a ring. See, this has, this probably snapped. It was soldered on there. Yeah, at one point, this was a ring. It's time to rise and shine. Let's go. Okay, moving in on the next beach, we got a signal. Let's dig. Yep, tons of these bottle caps. Whether it was the bottle cap or the ring, everything that I was digging that morning was different and I wasn't picking up on it yet. There we go.
Sushi. Has been unlocked.
Yeah, sorry about the audio here. I'm going to narrate over it. When you get the GoPro underwater, that's what happens. But this was in a very strange spot. Yeah, this one was a happy accident. I was walking on a pile of sand, and I'm just talking about the entire coast where I was, the entire corner. It was just filled with sand, and I started to notice the way that the water was moving. But yeah, this is 14K icy ice for those of you who just like the pictures. Do you see the direction of the water? That is left to right in the direction we're facing. Now, unlike the ugly wave beach that I showed you in New York, if you notice, these waters, for the most part, are calm. But what happened was a storm came through the night before, and the general direction of the storm was north-south. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was walking in the direction that the sand was moving. And if you look at the area that I was staying, which was called Grace Bay, it's almost like jetties, like natural jetties. You have this bay that's like crescent moon, half moon shaped down here. And really the sand can go this way or this way, depending upon the fetch, depending upon different factors. Usually there's no waves, but as you know, storms can move things, but everything moved in this direction. So I'm slowly figuring this out, and I start walking back down in the original direction. Wow. This rang up as a 91. It's a religious medallion. We got some silver.
Haagen-Dazs has been unlocked.
So this was actually very close to the beach. This was found almost on shore. Nice religious medallion. We got some silver. And I keep heading back until I fall in a hole. Now, I check the tides as I always do before I go detecting. But I kind of felt, okay, maybe the tides were off because I got into the water pretty early. And it seemed really, really deep. Like the drop off was extremely, extremely steep. It seemed really deep. The tides were not off. The storm washed away a section of the beach. Now, what did I learn? What was the game-changing information? I thought that sand movement like this only happened in high-energy beaches. So look at this graphic of Florida. Now you have wave energy around here. High wave energy on this coast because it's the Atlantic coast. There's nothing that is getting in the way that's blocking the wave energy here. And it's different on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And how it was in Turks and Caicos was a lot, it was more similar to the Gulf Coast of Florida. 0 to moderate wave energy. You're going to see images of it like underwater in a moment, but what really shocked me was how much sand moved. I suppose the more that something stays in place, stagnates, stays flat, the easier that it is to knock out. And I think that's exactly what happened. I initially thought that it was a boat that came in, because there were boats that came to shore that came in and made that indentation. It wasn't a boat. And then I saw these coins that were just like encapsulated in like gunk. That has been exposed to the elements for a long time. Whenever you see something like this, you stay out for the day. Unfortunately, my plane was leaving. And here you're going to actually see me fall into a hole. the beach just like dropped off, and I'm trying to like swim with my equipment, and that's why the camera is going up and down under the water and such. I was like on my tippy toes. These holes were everywhere, and I'm down in one of these basins, and there's targets like everywhere and up the slope. Some of it got knocked out. It's not just that it stayed down, stuff got knocked out and up. And that was a real learning moment for me as well. Another important takeaway is this. I've walked this many times when I was there, and I got all of the signals that were on the surface. But again, when you're talking about the beach, you're talking about multiple surfaces. If something is less dense than water, it's going to float. But what are heavier objects going to do? They're going to sink. And I really thought that, for the most part, good luck getting that when it was a situation like this. But that's not true. I meant a situation with like small amounts of wave energy. But this goes to prove there are these events on beaches like this. Here I'm trying to show you how cavernous it is, and there's a wall that I'm going up at the top. As you could see, a lot of the coin casing has kind of fallen off since I commuted with it, back to New York. But this is one that stayed. I got so many coins just like that. Here's another one. And I wish that I stayed longer. We did fine though. It was a good trip. I'm going to link to the other two videos. It was a spectacular time. That trip was just what I needed. It got me on a roll. I was super busy with work this spring, and this just like catapulted the summer. I just had one of the best weeks I ever had. You'll see in upcoming videos, so make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe button. It keeps my channel growing, and I thank you for watching.